After my father's death, I found myself standing at the edge of everything I had ever known. The funeral was filled with somber faces, polite condolences, and whispered reassurances. "She'll manage," they said. "It's in good hands." But what they didn't know, and what I had kept hidden even from my closest friends, was that my father had left me the entire family business, a conglomerate built over decades with sweat, vision, and an unwavering moral compass. My older brother, Daniel, smirked at the service, clearly certain that his name alone entitled him to the company. "Mom," he said quietly, "don't get in the way. It's mine now." He had no idea what awaited him. For 40 years, my father had taught me lessons that went beyond business. He had taught me about people, their dreams, their fears, their hidden potentials. While he built the walls of the empire, I had filled it with life. I had known every supplier, every artisan, every farmer whose hands shaped our products. I knew their families, their struggles, the little victories they cherished. To my father, it wasn't just about profit, it was about honor. And now, as I held his final letter, sealed and written in his elegant hand, I understood why he had trusted me. "To my daughter," it read, "the one who understands the heart behind the work, the soul behind the numbers, this is yours. Guard it with the wisdom of patience and the courage of love." The next morning, Daniel arrived at the office wearing confidence like armor. He strode through the glass doors, nodded at the employees with patronizing charm, and sat in the chair my father had once occupied. He rearranged files, hung his own photograph on the wall, and began issuing orders, treating the business as if it were a machine that needed only to be commanded. But he didn't notice the subtle looks of loyalty from our longtime staff, nor did he hear the faint murmurings of approval when I quietly entered the office, unseen at first. These people had spent decades under my guidance, learning the rhythm of the company, understanding the ethics and compassion that made it thrive. I didn't confront him immediately. Instead, I reached out to the people who had been the backbone of our success. I called every partner, every artisan, every supplier who had ever been touched by my father's and my efforts. I spoke with the chocolatier in Belgium, whose small family factory had supplied us for generations. I called the tea master in Sri Lanka, whose plantations had been tended by his ancestors for over a century. I spoke with the fishermen in France, who provided our rarest seafood, the tailor in Italy who crafted our uniforms, the small-town bankers who had lent us trust when banks would not. With each conversation, I reminded them not of me, not of Daniel, but of the values my father and I had built together: loyalty, respect, honor. Daniel thought he could control the empire by issuing commands, but he hadn't understood a single thing. The company wasn't just a collection of assets, it was a living network of trust. Orders without empathy faltered, authority without respect crumbled. I watched quietly as he struggled to maintain the illusion of control, fumbling when employees questioned decisions he didn't fully understand. I didn't need to prove anything. The company itself did it for me. By the end of the first week, Daniel realized that his arrogance had blinded him. He attempted to impose his will, but the staff, those who had once humored his charm, now subtly redirected projects through my channels, answered questions with careful caution, and reminded him in tiny ways that true power cannot be faked. The empire I had inherited was responding to me, not him. Then came the turning point. One evening, Daniel called me into the boardroom, frustration etched on his face. "I don't understand. Why are the partners siding with you? They respect me. I own this company." I smiled faintly, the first real smile since my father's death. I handed him the final letter, letting him read my father's words. Daniel's eyes flickered with anger, confusion, and finally, shame. He understood, too late, that leadership isn't claimed by inheritance, it is earned through integrity. He had all the wrong tools: ambition without patience, authority without respect, numbers without souls. I did not gloat. My father had taught me humility as well as wisdom. Instead, I extended a hand, quietly, without anger. You can learn, or you can watch from the sidelines, but understand this: respect and loyalty cannot be bought, they must be nurtured. For the first time, Daniel listened, not as a competitor, but as a son learning from the parent he had ignored. Over the weeks and months that followed, I rebuilt the bond between our family and our partners. The network my father had entrusted to me, the web I had quietly nurtured, became a net of influence and integrity that ensured the business thrived, not through fear, not through greed, but through honor. Daniel stayed, humbled but determined. He learned that ambition without morality was hollow. And I learned, finally, that my father's true gift wasn't the company itself. It was the trust, wisdom, and courage to wield it with conscience. By the time a year had passed, the company had grown beyond its former glory, and in the quiet of my office, overlooking the city skyline, I understood the truth my father had lived and taught me. Wealth is temporary, power is fleeting, but honor and respect endure. They are the true legacy of a life well lived.